If you're still running a book a call funnel in 2026, you're throwing money in the trash and literally lighting it on fire. Now, I know that sounds harsh, but here's the reality. What worked in 2020 and 2021, even in 2023, is dead. Your cost per call, let me guess, is probably $400, $500, maybe even $700 cost per showed call. And your show up rates? Well, you're probably lucky if you get above a 65% show up rate, right? Now, first of all, I'm Craig, and today I'm going to show you the boring, unsexy, but brutally effective way to cut your cost per call by upwards of 60% and increase your show up rates at the same time. There's no fancy funnels, no complicated VSLs, no crazy automation, just a simple shift that most marketers are too stubborn to make. Now, let's talk about what happened between 2020 and 2025. Every single high-ticket business followed the exact same playbook. Run a Facebook or YouTube ad, send people to a book a call funnel, get them on the calendar, then ultimately close them on the phone. And for a while it worked, and it worked really well. But here's why everybody started doing it. And well, exactly, that's why everybody started doing it, right? But here's the thing about marketing. Trends die when everybody copies them, right? By 2024 and 2025, people became immune to the book a call funnel. They already know what's happening. They see the ad, they click through it, and they see the calendar booking page, and their brain immediately goes to, well, oh shit, well, this is a sales call, right? They're gonna try and sell me something expensive or high ticket, and I'm gonna be pressured. Especially in this day and age of high ticket sales and running ads, in order to make your ads profitable, you need to charge a couple $1,000s for your product or service, right? Now, that mental resistance, that's friction, and that is killing your cost per call. Now, let me give you the brutal reality of what a book a call funnel costs right now. Your cost per lead might be anywhere from $40 to $100 plus. Your show up rate might be, 40 to 65%, right? And your cost per showed call might be anywhere from $400 upwards. I've even seen $700, $800. And that's not an exaggeration. That's real data from businesses running real campaigns in 2025 and 2026. And you probably know this and can verify this on your own. Now, if you're paying $600 per showed call and your close rate is 20%, that means you're paying $3,000 in ad spend per client, or your customer acquisition cost, in other words, is $3,000. And if your average deal is $5,000 or $10,000, those margins are getting really tight really fast. So you're probably sitting there and thinking, well, yeah, no, I understand this, I get this, Craig, but what is the solution? Well, the solution is simple. Reduce the friction. Now, instead of asking people to book a call directly from your ad, basically ask them to submit their information requesting a callback, right? That's it. That's the whole strategy. There's a little bit more to this, and I'll get into that, but instead of a book a call funnel, you run a lead intake funnel. Now, here's why this works. Here's the psychology behind this. When somebody sees a book a call, they know they're committing to a sales conversation. They have to pick a time, they have to show up, they have to sit through a pitch. That's a lot of commitment for somebody who just saw your ad 30 seconds ago. But if they see a request, a callback, or get more information, it feels way less committal, right? They're not locking themselves into anything at all, right? They're just raising their hand and saying, hey, I'm interested, right? Give me a callback or give me some more information. Now, the barrier to entry drops drastically, which means more people opt in, which means your cost per lead plummets, right? Now, here's what happens when you switch to a lead intake funnel. And this is pretty much from our data specifically at the time of recording. So our cost per lead, right, and this can be anywhere from, depending on the month, anywhere from $20 to $40. Sometimes it's even lower than that. Now, our lead to conversion or lead to call conversion is roughly, a third, right? With a really good appointment setter. Basically, for the amount of leads you're gonna get, you're gonna convert a third of them in there, right? And that accounts for the answer rate, everything. So ultimately, Our cost per call is between $60 and $120. Let me repeat that. $60 to $120 per call versus $400 to $700 per call. For us, that's about 70% cheaper. Same traffic, same offer, just a different funnel structure. Now, here's the catch. This doesn't work if you change your funnel and call it a day, right? You need a system to work those leads, and that system is called an appointment setter, right? And this is so important because it doesn't help you generate more leads. What really works here is working those leads that you are getting. And here's how it works. First of all, a lead comes through from your ad and fills out a form requesting a callback. Second of all, your appointment setter contacts that lead within 2 minutes. This is critical, 2 minutes. And that appointment setter then actually goes ahead and qualifies the leads and books them onto your closer's calendar, right? And then fourth of all, your closer takes the call and closes the deal. Now, the appointment setter is the entire system. Without them, your leads just sit there and go cold. Okay? Now, here's the stat that most people don't know. If you don't contact a lead within 5 minutes of them opting in, and by the way, we contact our leads within 2 minutes, and all of our appointment setters are trained within 2 minutes. They have to answer and call that lead, right? But if you contact the lead within 5 minutes, and this is data that shows this, you're 100x more likely to reach them than if you wait 30 minutes. Right? That's 100x, and I apologize, I don't have the study here pulled up. I read that somewhere. Please fact check me on that. But again, that's not a typo specifically, right? So when I say your appointment setter needs to contact the lead within 2 minutes, I'm not exaggerating. Speed to lead is everything. And specifically here at Sales Match, all of our appointment setters, like I said, are trained within 2 minutes. They have to reach out. Call, text, email, WhatsApp, whatever it takes, right? Now, here's what happens when you do this correctly. Let's just say you're running ads and generating leads at $30 a piece. Now, your appointment setter contacts them immediately, qualifies them, and books about 1 out of every 3 onto your calendar. Now, again, your math and your data is going to be different than mine, right? Keep that in mind. But for us, that's about a 33% lead to call conversion. So if you're getting leads for $30, your cost per call is now $90. Compare that to a $600 cost per call. You're paying basically for a book a call funnel. Right? $90 versus $600. Now, here's the bonus that most people don't talk about, right? Your show up rate will increase drastically. Why? Because the appointment setter is doing 2 critical things. Number 1, building rapport, right? When your appointment setter gets on the phone with a lead, they're not just booking a call. They're having a real conversation. They're building rapport. They're making the lead feel heard and understood. And by the time that lead gets on the call with your closer, well, they already have a relationship with your company. They're not talking to a stranger. They're talking to people who they know want to help them, right? That emotional connection drastically increases your show up rates, right? And specifically here at us, at the time of recording, we have a 79% show up rate on all our calls. And there's plenty of videos on this channel to show you how we do that, right? Now, the second crucial part that the appointment setter does is qualify the lead, right? The appointment setter is also basically, they build rapport, number 1. And then they also qualify the lead before they get to your closer. They're asking things such as, what made you interested in this? What's your current situation? What have you done in the past what solutions have you tried in the past? Why didn't that work, right? What are you hoping to achieve? And what's your budget range, right? Or does your business do over or under $35,000 a month? That's kind of one of our criteria, right? Now, if somebody isn't a fit, the appointment setter doesn't book them, which means your closer isn't wasting time on unqualified leads. And side note, those unqualified leads are the ones that are dragging down your show up rate, okay? Now, what about the leads that do get booked? Well, those leads are pre-qualified and pre-sold. They know what the call is about, right? And they know roughly, more or less, what the investment is. And they are basically ready to have a real conversation with your closers. Now, with a standard book a call funnel, show up rates are typically between 50 to 65%. With a lead intake plus appointment setter funnel, our specific show rates jumped literally about 15.5%, right? And again, we're setting at about a 79% show up rate. That's a massive difference. Not only are your calls cheaper, but more of them are actually showing up to the call, right? Now, let me put this all together with a real tangible example. Let's start with the old model, which is the book a call funnel. And this is, again, numbers that, I have drawn from all my business specifically. Your cost per show call could be $600. Your show up rate might be 60%. Your close rate might be 20%. And your cost per client is $3,000 in ad spend. So your cost per call, your customer acquisition cost is $3,000. Now, let's have a look at the new model, which is the lead intake funnel and appointment setter combo. Now, your cost per lead, $30. Your lead to call conversion, 33%. Your cost per call, or my cost per call, $90. Our show up rate, 79%, right? Now, effectively, a cost per show call is under $120, right? Accounting for the show up rate, right? And if our close rate is at 20%, same closer, better leads, so the close rate might be even higher, right? So keep that in mind. And our cost per call, your cost per client, your customer acquisition cost, $645 in ad spend. So you just went from $3,000 per client to $645 per client in this example. That's 78% cheaper. Same ads, same offer, same closer, just a smarter funnel and a really good appointment setter. That's the key. You need to have a really good killer appointment setter, right? Now, here's the catch. This only works, like I said, if you have a great appointment setter. If your appointment setter is slow to respond, if they're not building good rapport, if they're not qualifying properly, this whole system falls apart, right? That's why most businesses struggle to make this work on their own. They try to hire an appointment setter and they get somebody mediocre and the numbers don't add up. This is exactly the problem that we solve here at Sales Match. We recruit, vet, and place pre-trained appointment setters who know how to work leads within 2 minutes, build rapport, and qualify effectively. You get the infrastructure without the headache of hiring. Now, the bottom line here is that book a call funnels are dying. Lead intake funnels with appointment setters are the future. Now, if you want to basically cut your cost per call and increase your show up rates, make the switch. It's boring. It's not sexy, but it works. Now, I really hope this video helps, and please leave your comments down below on your thoughts on this. But other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.